Shalom. It is Sunday, July 11th, and I'm out here getting ready to do the garden walkthrough. And I also have some tomatoes that I need to pluck off the vines because they have started to blush. And if I leave them on the vines, the birds will get them. So we have crows and ravens and blue jays and all kinds of different birds that visit the yard, which is awesome because we like to watch them. And I supplied the bird baths for them, hoping that they would leave my fruit alone, but they're not. So I need to harvest the tomatoes so I get to eat them instead of the birds. So let's start with the garden harvest over here with the trees. So as you can see, this rosemary bush is coming back. Look at all that greenery that's coming back on it. This one, however, is not. It's dead. Pomegranates really haven't grown much. So we spun these maple trees around, so that's why it has an arm sticking out here because it was pointed in the direction that I'm standing now, because that's where the sun goes. So we learned that maple trees will push their leaves and their limbs toward the sun so that they can capture the sunlight and do photosynthesis. The process of photosynthesis. So what we've done is spun the trees around so that they can develop limbs on a more rounded versus just on one or two sides. So let's look at this one a little bit closer. So you could see there has small limbs on this side, but the side that was facing the sun, look at that. So it's a little lopsided, and we just kind of wanted to have it we want it to have a more balanced appearance. And this is the one we've nicknamed Hightower, or Todd nicknamed Hightower, and it totally fits it, because it is twice the size of the other ones, even though it's the same age. So, but we ended up spinning all of them around. And at the base of this one, we have some lettuce growing that is about ready to start harvesting. I also need to harvest some stevia today and dehydrate, although I may wait till tomorrow because it's very, very wet. We also have some romaine here that's ready to harvest. I never did get this planted back up with other stuff. It's just been kind of hectic around here. We have the amaranth spinach is beautiful. I mean, look at the size of that. Look at that squirrel. He's so brazen. Right there. Just sitting there looking at me. You're brazen. Fearless? Yes, you are. You're fearless. I haven't zoomed in so far. When he moves a couple quick, I can't keep up with him. But he's not scared at all. He is less than 10 feet away from me. And zoom sometime today. So we have this strawberry spinach. It's called strawberry spinach because the leaves kind of look like strawberry leaves, but not really. That is starting to come back. It's starting to really grow. But this amaranth spinach, I am so in love with that spinach right there. I mean, how beautiful is that? It's not just edible, but it's beautiful as well. And we've actually harvested some of this to use in our smoothies. This is looking a lot better because Yahuah has been so kind as to water our garden for us lately, and they look beautiful. So we do have some tomatoes in here. Let me try to set my basket down where it's not going to get wet from the ground. We have some tomatoes in here that have a really good blush. So I'm going to go ahead and harvest those and take them in. And what I can't eat, because, you know, I love tomatoes, so I try to eat as many as I can. So the tomatoes I can't eat, what we'll do is we'll can these, and they'll ripen on the counter. Once they start getting the blush, they will ripen on the counter. After a rain is not really the ideal time to pluck. It's better to get them before rain, but it is what it is. They ripen when they ripen, so I'm going to go ahead and harvest them now so I can actually get to enjoy them instead of the birds. And I actually have found some tomatoes. I'm going to leave this one and this one because they're just lightly blushed, so I'm going to leave them a couple more days. They actually develop their flavors more. Or they're more concentrated rather, when it has not, when they're not saturated with rain. Now you may want to harvest before. You may want to harvest before rain because that will give you the best flavor profile for the tomatoes than after the rain, because after the rain it gets a little watered down and not quite as concentrated and as good a flavor. So, but I am thrilled. This is my first big harvest of the year. We have actually been harvesting. Kelsey and I have been grabbing some of the cucumbers as they've been getting big enough to eat. And Todd's been fussing, those are future pickles you're eating. But yeah, me and my girl like some cucumbers, so we have been harvesting the cucumbers and eating them off the vine. There's a couple right here, and you know, really once they start blushing, they're not going to get much bigger. I've never seen them get bigger once they start putting on a blush. So yesterday we came out and found a tomato laying right here, and then one laying over there in between the beds, between the tomato bed and the pepper bed. And that one over there had been eaten. This one over here had just been knocked off the vine. Look at this, isn't that beautiful? Now, let's see, there's a couple of them that have a light blush that I'm just going to leave for another day or two, so they'll develop a better flavor profile. My hand is wet. These tomatoes right here are looking very pitiful. So once these tomatoes start blushing, I'm going to pop them off and I'm going to pull these out and plant a sucker in their place, because a sucker, it can become a separate plant, and it will not take as long as trying to grow one from seed or it'll develop a lot faster, is my point that I'm trying to make. That's weird. That's supposed to be like a regular sized tomato, not a tomato, but it's got a little spot on it right there, so it's alright. We'll just put it down, let it decompose in the bed. I'm sorry, I'm not very good yet at paying attention to where the camera is pointing while I am harvesting. I'm trying to get better at that. I'm being conscious of it. It's not Usually Todd's out here talking with me, and I don't really have to pay attention to where my hands are or where the camera is in relation to my hands, because I don't have a camera in my hands. So please excuse me if I get some really bad shots. Here's another one that's starting to yellow. So once those tomatoes come off, yeah, I'm going to take those out. But this one kind of looks like a nutritional deficiency just based on the way it's yellowed, which is different from the other ones. So I'm going to treat this bed and see if that helps the issue. These are like the really little tiny tomatoes. Kelsey likes to pop these in her mouth. She's not a big tomato eater. Unfortunately, she did not get that from Mama. But she's not a big tomato eater. But that girl loves her some cucumbers and hot peppers, of course. Now, she did get that from her dad, because before we met Todd, let's see, I adopted Kelsey when she was younger, and before we met Todd, oops, I just picked a green one because I was looking at the camera instead of my hand. Before we met Todd, she would not eat anything hot, so. But once she met him, Dad eats hot stuff all the time, and she discovered she loved it. So now she loves eating the hot peppers like her daddy. So he truly did adopt her as his own. I need to get some ties and tie these up as soon as I'm done harvesting. I'm trying not to spin you around too fast so that you get car sick on your couch, but the peppers are loaded. I mean, they're just loaded. We've actually plucked a couple of them off that were really big before they even ripened. Oh, that's funny. I was just looking at this onion, like, where did the blossom go to? There it is. It's leaning over into the middle of the bed. So these are the sweet peppers, and there is and look at the size of these. But these are the hot banana peppers. Supposedly they're not really hot, and we've already harvested. I don't even know how many we've already harvested off of them, because they were growing so long they were dragging the soil, and you know, if it drags the soil, it's going to start rotting. So we went ahead and harvested those. So let's see if we have any Cherokee purple or black creme in this bed. Let's see. The birds are especially peachy keen on these, so I'm going to go ahead and grab that one. It's got a nice blush on it. Nowhere near ripe, of course. So, trying to maneuver the camera with the tripod isn't easy, and I can't get my head in there. I'm gonna have to go around the bed and get that. I'm gonna leave those a couple more days, and that one's really green on the bottom, so I'm gonna leave him a couple of days too. Same with those over there. Look at the poblanos in there, and the purple jalapenos. We have been harvesting quite a bit of these purple jalapenos. And Kelsey loves them because they're purple and they're jalapenos. They're hot. We've also harvested, Friday morning, we harvested some of these beans. And there's already some that are ready to harvest again. for stir fry, which we're eating stir fry this week. And the great thing about stir fry is you can mix it up every single day because you can have different vegetables in it, and it's amazing. But stir fry is a misnomer because we don't fry, so well, we dry fry, we don't fry in oil. But yeah. Look at the sunflowers. They're getting so tall, and this little guy, he needs to be tied up because he's leaning over on the peppers. I need to get my ties and go run and tie up as soon as I finish the harvest this morning. But look at these peppers. And these are, almost all of these are ones that we started from seed, and they're already a foot to 2 foot tall. And they're loaded with peppers. We've also harvested, that's our cayenne bed right there. We've also harvested several cayenne, and I can see what Todd means because that red right there, it looks like a pepper. It may not be, but I do see a red pepper back there in the middle. But it's the red ties are very tricky. They're false advertising, right? So these are the hots also, another hot pepper bed. And with the rain we've had, I haven't had to pick off too many squash bugs off of this plant. But look at the size of this one. Like, this was the third one that came on, and it is huge. It's nowhere near ripe yet, but look at that. It's longer than my hand. How awesome is that? I am so wowed by this plant, totally. It's so beautiful. I love seeing the melons hang down. So I'm really digging these cattle panels to grow them up. And it also makes it a little easier to see the squash bugs and the squash bug eggs, because I don't know what that is. It's, it kind of looks like a lightning bug. Where's that? There it is. Kind of looks like a lightning bug, only it's fatter, but it's not one that's going to be harmful to the plant, so at least not to my knowledge. So yeah, I don't see, but it also makes it easier to see the eggs. But for some reason the squash bugs are laying their eggs on the top of the leaves. Maybe they're confused because of the way it's growing up, but it makes it a lot easier to see them. And if I'm looking at them underneath, from underneath, I can see the sun shining through, and I can see the egg formation on the leaves, so it makes it easier to find. And I just remove the leaves because, my goodness, it has a lot of leaves. And there are so many blooms still on this. So it's still producing. There are, let's see, I haven't counted recently. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At the moment, there are 5 that I can readily see. I think there are actually more. I think there are smaller ones, but some of them, for some reason, will they will do. All right, where are you at? It's really hard to. All right, let me put my hand in here. Okay, right here. Some of them will do this. They'll just dry up. I'm assuming, like right here, I'm assuming, yeah, I'm assuming that means that, right there it is, they have not been fertilized. And so they just dry up on the vine. Because the vines themselves are very healthy. But we have some more tomatoes to harvest. Over here, the Roma tomatoes. This is the one that was on the ground that something had pulled it off. I'm not sure how much I can catch here because I'm trying not to not sure how much I can catch here because they've outgrown their space a little bit. I have not been as vigilant with trimming because I've been trying to list stuff on eBay for like the last 2 weeks and 3 weeks. So I've not been as vigilant with keeping up with the plants as I should be. But these are desperately calling out for help. And I probably only have maybe 6 or 7 more days of listing stuff. So I don't know. I'll find the time to do it all sometime. So anyway, let's look for those tomatoes. Let's see. And it's really, really hard to see in here because they're so bushy. So it's hard to see which ones are red and which ones are not. I mean, you can see it's like really hard. If it weren't for being able to access them from the outside. Right now, I would be thinking, man, it was a really bad decision to do this. But thankfully, we are able to access them from underneath as I'm getting rained on by the plants. And those are pretty good sized Roma tomatoes. Yes, they are. And there are a lot of them in here that are still babies that are still growing. I mean, they're just loaded. But we harvested a couple of them yesterday. There's not a whole lot. Look. Oh, fasciated. Look. There is a tomato that resulted from fasciated blossoms. That's the first one I've seen in the garden this year. Now, some people will pop those off so that the plant does not put energy into growing those. It's one. I'm going to grow it and see how grotesque it turns out to be. I'm sorry, tomato plant. Not grotesque. It's going to be a very interesting shape. So I need to do something with, because as you can see, it has outgrown its cages right there. So I'm going to have to figure out something to do to be able to stake those up. Todd was talking about maybe using those and doing them sideways. That's a possibility. So we'll see. Anyway, moving on down. These are the cucumbers. You remember how much trouble it had getting started? This bad boy is trying to take, well, there's 8 plants. They're just trying to take over back here. And I might just let them. But check out that bad boy. What? That thing is less than a week old. Okay. It started out like this. Like, where is it? Like that. Less than a week ago. And now it looks like that. And there's some, see, me and Kelsey have been harvesting them like this. Not a lot, just a few here and there. And eating them straight off the vine. And Todd's been fussing with us about it. So we're gonna have quite a few pickles. Oh wow, look at that one. And there's more over here. I don't really see any that are actually technically ready to harvest. I see a lot that are close. And I won't can these. Look at that cubanelle. I mean, seriously. Look at the size of that thing. It goes all the way down to lower than that leaf. That is 7 inches long, easily. How crazy is that? So these, I'm going to just train these to come out. We do have a puddle that collects here when it rains, and I do have holes cut in it so it will drain out. It'll just take it a little while. So I'm going to train these little things to grow out this way and on the rubber mat. The strawberries are starting to blossom. And check this out. I mean, this is a miracle for real. This is the Chester blackberry. Look at those blooms. This is the one that got sprayed with the overspray when they sprayed that fence line. He got sprayed with the overspray, and look at the blossoms. Look how much it's come back. It was almost dead, y'all. It didn't get a whole lot of the spray, but it was almost dead. And look at it now. I mean, how beautiful is that? And I actually got this one. Because it is thornless. It's supposed to be a sweet berry. And it's also named Chester, which is the name that my husband named his Dalmatian that he had years ago. That people still talk about that dog. People still tell stories about that dog because he had such a huge personality that everybody remembers him. Todd, I wish I could get Todd to tell some stories about that, but yeah, he had such a huge personality that everybody remembers him and still tells the stories about what Chester has done and what Chester would do. And so that's his namesake, and I'm really thankful that it survived. And we're not going to harvest this year because it's not according to the Bible. You're not supposed to harvest for the first 3 years. I need to look that up. I think it's 3 years you're not supposed to harvest fruit. I'm not sure how old it is, but it's the first year that it's putting forth blooms. So I'm going to count that as year 1. So we won't harvest this year and next year or the year after, which is actually kind of a good thing because it did get sprayed, and I don't know how much poison is in it. Maybe 3 years will enable it to get rid of the poisons that it got sprayed with. So here's a little thing that I have discovered. These little radish pods, I like these way better than I like the radish underneath it. And I harvested a bunch of these, and I'm gonna have to harvest these too. Look at that. I harvested a bunch of these to use in the stir fry, and they are fantastic for the stir fry. And I'm gonna harvest these little pods because I actually have a basket that will. Because if I leave them on here too much longer, they get big and they get tough, which is still good in a stir fry. But we want to harvest them when they're little, unless you want to harvest them for seed. In that case, you just want to leave them on there until they get nice and dry on the plant. They're a little easier to pop off than popping off beans. And then you can get them to break off straight at the stem, so you don't even have to worry about prepping it for food. You can just rinse and go. Unfortunately, I really don't like these radishes, the black radishes, enough to grow them for radishes. So I'm not sure. The rest of the seeds I'll probably go ahead and use to grow these, because these are really fantastic. Isn't it such a peaceful morning? I love when I go to edit the videos and all I hear are the birds chirping in the background and singing. And Apparently, when the birds sing to the plants open their stomas. Hello, Mr. Big. How to prop this bad boy up because he's top heavy. I hear some of these chickens clucking at the end of the road. So if you live in the city, you should definitely check your ordinances because you may be able to have some chickens and some other small animals in the city. We just don't have enough property here for that. And if we did, I'm not sure what we would do. Possibly some goats or something to keep the grass down, or some sheep. Although goats are a little more hardy from what I understand. I've never messed with goats myself. My family never messed with goats. They had pigs and cattle. They had pigs and cattle and horses, but never goats and sheep. My parents, they also had chickens and turkeys. My parents only ever had chickens and turkeys, and once we had a pet deer, which the neighbor killed. That's a long story. She had gotten injured by getting stuck in a fence, and her whole side was tore up, and she just walked right up to my dad, and my dad treated her wounds with I believe peroxide, and which is what we treated our wounds with, and then mentholatum. She didn't like that one very much. She kicked a little bit, but she would stay at our garden, and she wouldn't eat the garden because I don't know, but she would not eat the garden. So she stayed in the garden, and she just kind of hung around, and she would let us pet her and love on her, and she would love on us until the neighbor contacted the game warden and said, oh, she's injured, I need to put her down. So our neighbor shot her. So even living in the country, you can have bad neighbors, right? So I was just walking by this and I found these laying on the ground. Now this one has a bad spot, probably where it was laying on the ground. It's out of here. But the other one is perfect. It just got broken off. So let me come over here and see if I can grab that pepper. Oh my goodness. I'm so sorry. I mean peppers. So, cayennes, y'all. That's not all. So my husband usually likes to harvest the peppers, but he is missing out because he's a mouse. So Mama gets to harvest the peppers today. So I think this is actually turning into more of a harvest video, which I'm okay with. I hope you are too. So right here in the center of the bed, there are some cayenne that are ready to harvest. That's kind of crazy because the ones on the outside get the sun, and they're not as ripe as the ones in the center right here. Oh my goodness. This one plant has a lot. I'm trying to be careful and lean it in to not destroy the plant or the ones surrounding it. But look at those. Aren't those beautiful? But cayenne is a vasodilator, and what that means is it dilates your blood vessels. So it is a home remedy for if you're having a heart attack or somebody's having heart issues, to give cayenne to it'll they call it thin in the blood. It doesn't really thin the blood. It expands the blood vessels to make the blood easier to pump through the veins. And I don't know about the heart thing, whether that is actually true or not. I've heard a lot of people testify about it. But I do know it does dilate the blood vessels, because it is perfect for a migraine. And if you look in my playlist, I do have a recipe for, there's an apple tree. Huh. Right there is an apple tree. I just saw the apples. Like a squirrel. Distracted. Anyway, I do know that it does help with migraines, because I used to have migraines seriously bad until we changed our diet. And but I would use the cayenne with apple cider vinegar and a little bit of salt, and it would absolutely relieve the migraines. So I do have a recipe for that. It is called the cayenne cocktail. So if you look in my playlist, you'll see that, or on my channel. But it is in a playlist, recipe playlist, I think. Let me repeat that. It's in a recipe playlist. So there are some that are hiding in here along with the red ties. And I'm gonna walk around the bed. Trying not to get my feet wet. Oh my goodness, there's some right here too. I completely missed these when I went around earlier. So this one's in the corner also, but it is it's in the shadow, because the sun makes its track this way. The sun makes its track this way, and so this is actually in the shadow, and it is turning, just like the ones in the center that are in the shadow. Very interesting. Oh wow, that one's fat. I will say, I am not going to use the red ties again, because Todd is absolutely right. It's hard to see where the vegetables are that ripen. The ones that ripen to this beautiful red, it's hard to see them mixed in along those red ties. So, let's go get some green beans, huh? I said green beans. These aren't green. Most of them are purple. And these are the yard long. And if you pick them when they're little like this, they're really good as green beans. If you let them get mature, you harvest the seeds in them and eat them like brown beans or pinto beans, like you would those. So I also have some green yard longs as well, and that one actually is about 2 foot long, a little over 2 foot probably. The green ones are a little harder to see, so this one I almost let get a little too big because I didn't see it. And this is the first year I've grown these. Well, the second year I've grown these that I have not had issues with aphids and ants covering them. I did have that issue last year. I did not harvest any last year. I harvested a couple seeds, but that was it. So, and with these beans, if you, unlike most vegetables in the garden, if you harvest them as they start developing, they will develop more and they will produce more. So that's what I'm trying to do this year. And on this side I've got a couple also. So they don't just grow on one side. No, they don't. sunflower. Can I get in here beside you? Okay. And I see a purple snap pea right here. I have an ant on my arm. Oh, that one's going to seed. Look, I waited too long to harvest this one and it's going to seed. It's very thin and papery, so that's alright. I'll let it go to seed and I'll harvest this another one right there. So you want to harvest those when they're purple, the purple ones. It's the purple ones you want to harvest when they're small. This one is finally catching on and growing. I was like, it's not even I thought it was not a, come on, don't break, don't break, don't break, okay. So yeah, this one has not bloomed yet. It's just now taken off and climbing. Perhaps it was a little too hot for these to start trellising, but I thought for the longest time these were not pole beans because they just pushed out. They did not grow the these. And now this week they have started growing the pole. Started to trellis. So, ooh, I wonder if I can get you back through there. I don't want you stuck in there. Let's see. Don't break. Don't break. I'm trying to be easy. There we go. A really cool thing about these are the ones that we put out. We started these from seed into the harvest, and pretty much into the harvest. But look, it's starting to put on blossoms. So, and this one actually has fruit. So, yeah, this one has fruit also. So, look at that. Yeah, they have blossoms. So, we'll be harvesting these pretty soon. Harvesting is what we're looking for, right? That is the goal. So, let's come over here and check the pepperoncinis and the jalapenos and see if they have any let's see if they have any red peppers. Excuse me as I walk by. Todd has been harvesting these pretty good. He's got a bad spot. Some of them get like little rotten spots, and I'm not sure what causes that. Perhaps it is from not enough airflow. That's what I'm beginning to believe. We harvested these yesterday, so there may not be anything that are ready to go today. I see a lot that are starting to turn, but some that have been. Yes, I do. Like you, right in the center, just like the other bag, right? I'll show you these here in a second. There's a mushy spot right here. It stays wet. Right here, there's a mushy spot. It stays wet all the time, and it doesn't dry out. At least it hasn't yet. It will when the dry, September comes. It'll dry out. But right now it's not. And that's because we are downhill from them. So when it rains, there we go. We're downhill from them. So when it rains, the water just rushes down here, and this part right here stays wet. So apparently that's the low level. But here, are the pepperoncinis I just harvested. Aren't those gorgeous? So when you buy the pepperoncinis, or you get them with your pizza, they're really good with pizza, by the way. When you get them with your pizza or buy them pickled in the stores, they're green. That means they're not ripe. When they're ripe, they're red, just like cayennes, and they're a little bit spicier. Not a lot spicier, but they are a little bit spicier. So this blackberry is the one our neighbors gave us, and it has put on berries, and I'm not sure how old it is. I'm sure this is its first year, so we will not harvest the berries this year, next year, or the year after, according to the Bible. Look at that. What's it called? Citronella plant. And I also have some nasturtiums in there. I have one nasturtium in the front that is actually blooming, finally. This one, these are not. Oh look, we have an interloper also. I despise this crabgrass, y'all. It grows everywhere. And I believe these are wild violets. Back here, it is a field in the spring, early spring. There's a field of wild violets that it's just blue flowers all the way across the yard, and it is gorgeous. I mean, it's absolutely breathtaking to look back here and see the flowers. And I was so sad when I had to mow the grass the first time because I had to take them out. Actually, I think it was the first 2 times I had to take them, because it cuts them off. And I was so sad about that because they were beautiful. Apparently, large batches of violets will actually grow in specific spots, but it's hard to find those large spots where they'll grow with a large volume, and it was a large volume. I did not try them because I didn't know that's what it was until I did some research. I knew the flower looked like a violet. It looked like the pansy family, but I wasn't sure. So yeah, that was kind of a fun little thing. So next year I'll know, and we can eat those flowers. Let me see. I'm surveying the garden to see if there's any place I missed. I do see some purple Cherokee tomatoes right there that are just blushing. I think I'm going to leave them because they're protected by the wire right there. Unless we have some incredibly intelligent birds that know to fly around it to get it. But I'm hoping the peppers in between it will provide a barrier for that. This is the purslane out. It is so beautiful. I don't know why people call that a weed. Look at those flowers. And when the sun comes out, they will open their little pretty faces toward the sun. And they close up when it rains. And they're just breathtaking. Breathtaking. So I think I didn't look at these. Let's see. These are determinate tomatoes. Only 2 that we have this year, and we've been having some really bad issues with blossom end rot. But when we pulled them away from the bed back there, it stopped the issue. I've actually harvested a couple of tomatoes off of this Friday and did not have the issue, but there were still a couple in this one that were in the center part that did not get as much airflow, and they did have the blossom end rot. So I have a theory that airflow can affect blossom end rot. I know people say, oh no, it's not accepting the calcium in the soil. If that were the case, when I pulled these out, soil condition was the same. I had not fertilized or done anything, just pulled. That was the only variable. I pulled them out away from the beds, and I mean, there's a good maybe 2.5 foot right there between them and the beds now. And so when I pulled them out, the blossom end rot stopped. Every single one of these, the tomatoes on this plant, would have blossom end rot. Every single one of them, until I pulled these out. And then we started getting tomatoes that were beautiful and perfect and did not have the blossom end rot. There was no treatment for calcium. There was no treatment to the soil at all. It just The only variable was pulling them out and letting them get more air circulation. So give that a try if you're having that issue. We're having that issue with some of the peppers in the beds as well. So I am wondering if it could be a similar issue. So I'm not going to pull them out this year to see. I'm not going to, because we're still getting quite a bit of peppers that are not harmed, right? And I'm sorry, I'm holding you crooked. But next year, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do this, but next year we'll have more airflow in between the plants, and we'll see if that makes a difference. So that may mean that we're planting in the ground. I really don't want to do that because rabbits, squirrels, for the most part, squirrels are kind of staying out of these. They will get in there every now and then, but for the most part, they're not as bad here as they are with the plants that are on the ground. So, but rabbits are really bad. They will take out plants, young trees, that kind of thing. Yeah. So, anyway, I probably have some blueberries in the front that I need to harvest, but I'm going to wait till this afternoon when it's cooled back up, because it's already starting to get warm here. So the sun is just now making its way over the tree tops and it's starting to warm up. By the way, if you don't rise with the sun, it's awesome. It's totally awesome. I highly recommend it, to watch the sunrise and to start your day as the day starts. It's beautiful. So, I can't end the video before I show you. Like, I'm already sweating. It's already hot out here. I can't end the video before I show you what we harvested today. It's not a lot, because it still is the beginning of our harvest here in Eastern Virginia. So this is what we harvested today. Again, the tomatoes are not quite fully ripe. Some of them are. A couple of the yellow tomatoes are. A couple of the Roma tomatoes maybe need a few more days, but so we harvested that today, and yeah, so excited. I have some mesh bags. Oh, I actually see 6 squash from this direction. I was missing one looking through the camera. I actually see 6 of the spaghetti squash growing on there, and we actually have a couple watermelons also. Yay! No Pachari, no Tigger still, but I do have the spaghetti squash. Is beautiful, and so I do have some mesh bags coming to help support them as they hang, to keep them from falling, because that one is getting huge really fast, but it's not ripening. So by the way, squash, winter squash, which spaghetti squash is a winter squash, you want to have it harden off for a couple weeks, I think, or maybe about a week or so, off of the vine. You can tell because it's soft when it comes off the vine, but let it harden off outside in the sun, and it will keep a lot longer. So in a cool house, in a cool spot in your house, it will keep a lot longer like that. So, but that's my first time growing squash, y'all, and I'm so excited. It just wows me every time I come out here and I look at that squash plant just growing over that garden trellis, and I'm like, ah. And the beauty, I don't know, whoever come up with the cattle panels as a garden trellis, I know Jess from Roots and Refuge uses that a lot, but she's not the one that came up with it. Someone came up with it right before her, and I was like eyeing it, and then I saw what she did with hers, and I was like, oh, I'm so wowed by how it looks and the aesthetics of it and the ease with which you can grow things. I mean, look at it. Look at these beans. We had no luck last year growing them in a pot up a trellis, but this year, there they go, right up that trellis, and it's so amazing. And I have my sunflowers on the side too, so they have their support. So anyway, it's lovely, and I'm going to wish you a lovely day. Until next time, God bless you. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to end this video now because it's probably way longer than it needs to be. And Yahuah bless you and keep you and give you shalom. Until next time, Yah bless.